Alrighty, little bit of a cold drink to quench the old throat. This evening, I attempted to do this video already, and one of the files was corrupt. I could not get it to load. It was cut off about half of the actual content. So I'm going to repeat myself. Hopefully I'll do a better job. Now, this Saturday evening, we're having our live stream, so make sure you're there. 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, United States. Remember, we are on daylight savings time, so it's going to be a little bit odd for some regions of the world as well. But hope to see you guys there. We always have a wonderful time together. And we're going to discuss some things. If you were with us the previous week, you will see what I'm talking about tomorrow evening. Now, let's talk about refilling. Now, this is going to be a series of 3 videos that I'm going to do in the next few days. Hopefully, I'll get this out tonight, being Friday evening, because I haven't had anything new this week. I did that video of me with my little stray kitty cat outside. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, look at my very last video that I have listed on my channel, and you will see the other side of Jose. When I am not printing, I'm taking care of the local animals in the neighborhood. I feed the birds. I feed the rabbits that roam around wild. There's even a couple of foxes that come to my backyard, and deer, and you name it. Squirrels, of course, birds of all sorts, and of course, my little stray cat, Mittens. And she's got little white paws. That's what we call her that. And she comes by and says hello to me twice a day. Maybe more sometimes. But, you know, it just depends on her appointments in the neighborhood. You know what I mean. 3 videos we're going to do, and it will cover these 3 subjects. Canon Pro-1000, 10, and 1. Refilling tips to remember. This is what we're going to do right now. And then either tomorrow or Sunday, understanding the Canon printer cleaning cycle. Boy, that is a hot subject nowadays. We're going to discuss that. And I hope I clear up all of the questions that are out there and misconceptions as well about these printers and what they do on their own. Get the most bang for the buck with your Canon printers. I'm going to teach you how to do that. Yes, they will run cleaning cycles. Yes, that wastes ink because you're not using that ink to produce prints. And I'm going to show you, for those of you who are considering refilling or not thinking that you can produce quality prints while you refill, I'm going to show you a print that I made that I'm going to send to a good friend. Pro-1000, Precisioncolors inks on it. And it's been on that ink set for 5.5 years now. I like to think it is. Summer of 2013 is when I set that up. Okay, and I immediately began to refill those cartridges the minute they were low with Precisioncolors inks. Now, Palo Duro soft gloss rag from Red River. This has been profiled. Of course, I made a profile for this paper, Precisioncolors inks, Pro-1000. Absolute black, absolute near white. This is like a 253 value. Complete range of tones. Color to die for. This is in Gettysburg. I have this print for sale, by the way. Anyway, as you can see, the results are amazing. So who's to say that third-party inks cannot produce fantastic results? I cannot any longer. I used to have my doubts, but no longer. All right, so speaking of the Pro-1000, what I have here, by the way, this was 3D printed for me by a viewer, and it happens to hold 8 cartridges. How convenient is that? I have here 2 cartridges, 2 CLI-42s. One of them has not been modified. It's the way I bought it off of eBay, empty, dried up. So, what do you do in this case? Well, the best scenario would be for me to modify it and flush it. And flush it with Windex first. Windex with ammonia D that will dissolve the ink, and then you'll be able to flush it with water and end up with a nice, clean sponge, one that will not have any remnants of the original ink. And of course, I don't know if you have been living under a rock for the last several years, you know that the original Canon Pro-100 yellow ink reacts with any other ink that is water-based. They changed the formulation, and this causes a possible reaction when the two inks come into contact. By that, I mean third-party inks that you may be refilling into that cartridge without first flushing it out with Windex. You can do that with the yellow cartridge. Now, modifying these cartridges, it requires a little bit of skill. If you want to avoid any kind of problems, you can now get sets of 8 CLI-42 cartridges. In other words, a complete original set, pre-modified and flushed for you, ready to use. Why would you not want to do that? $60, and you're set up with the most reliable way to use the Pro-100 when you refill. That is to have complete sets of cartridges filled so that you can exchange each set of cartridges when one reaches low. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Now, how do you refill these? Well, you just look at my videos, please. Look at Precisioncolors website. They have lots of videos on doing that. But basically, you're going to install the plug. You've already reset it. Here is the CLI-42 resetter. It is built specifically, custom built for this type of body construction. You're going to slip it in place. By the way, it's USB powered. You're going to see the red light blink, and then it's going to go solid, but it's not going to turn off. You're going to leave it for about 5 seconds and then detach it. And that cartridge now it is reset. Put the cap back on it. If you have the original cap, you're going to need a rubber band to hold that in place. Take your squeezy bottle. In this case, we're using black for a black cartridge. You're going to remove this little tip cover. You're going to insert the needle in. I'm not going to do that right now, but you're going to insert the needle in like this. Hold it straight up. Put the cartridge over it and then tip it over. Do not tip the bottle over, or you may get a couple of drops all over yourself. That happens, and that is normal. So put the cart over the tip and then tip the whole thing over. That way you will not get any ink dropping on your table or wherever you're working, your working area. And then you're going to fill this up with ink. Fill it up to about 80%. If the cartridge has been flushed, you're going to see ink entering and diffusing its way through the sponge. Ink levels will drop, and you just keep refilling until you reach a point of equilibrium. The ink levels will no longer fall. They will reach a point where everything is balanced, either in the sponge side or the liquid side. Put the plug on it. Remember, you still have this sealed, okay? You cannot do that with both holes open. The factory fill hole has to be made into a refilling hole. That's what the modification process is and entails. And like I said, if you don't want to deal with that, just buy yourself a set already pre-modified and then sell your set to someone. Buy another one. Yeah, that's a $120 investment, but you'll be set for years because you'll be able to continue using these. And why? How in the world can you get away with using these cartridges for the next 5 years? Always top them off when they reach low. What does that mean? The minute that chamber reaches empty, a prism that is living inside this chamber is exposed to air. There's a little light beam that passes through it. It will be refracted at a different angle, and that will tell the printer that you've reached the point of low. That means that there's no more ink in the liquid side. The sponge at that very moment is still fully saturated, but if you continue printing, trying to squeeze another print out of that cart, you're going to end up desaturating that sponge. There's no more ink to feed or replenish that sponge. The ideal situation, believe me, take this home and stick it in the bank, is to never allow the cartridge to go below low. Okay, not empty, low. Immediately take it out, reset it, top it off, pop it back into the printer. If you're working with single cartridges, you don't have a second set, that's the way you'll have to go about refilling your cartridges. No other way. But when you have two sets, you remove that one set that has one cartridge that has reached low warning and reinsert a brand new reset and topped off completely set of cartridges. It's like starting all over again. Okay. But without the priming, you will do simply one purge cycle instead of 8 individual cycles that you will do in a time span of maybe a month, because there are always going to be one cartridge that's low. You want to avoid that. That way you extend the life of your waste ink pads to the maximum amount, whatever that may be. My printer was initiated August 2013. The last time I checked, it is now December 2018. Do your math. It's still working perfectly. The printhead is still banging out beautiful prints, as you saw right here. And hopefully, knock on wood, it will continue to perform. Just in case, I have 2 other printers, brand new, still in box, Pro-1000s that I got for great deals here in local Craigslist. But as you guys know, you can get these printers with huge rebates now, especially around Christmas time. Net price will probably be about $60. Alrighty, let's jump over to the Pro 10 cartridges. Do I have any here? Nope. All right, now that I got the proper prop, I have a PGI 72 cartridge that I have refilled with Chroma Optimizer. Now these are different, totally different design. These are sponge based, they have a liquid side, and they have a sponge side, and the hydraulics that's going on internally in this printer, a hydraulic engineer would be fascinated with, okay? A lot of planning and engineering has gone into these types of cartridges. This is a little bit simpler, but mechanically also very interesting. An accordion bag holds ink. That accordion bag is kept pressurized by a flat diaphragm type piston that is spring-loaded. Very, very low pressure, but that keeps that bag constantly pressurized so that it is ready to prime that nozzle plate and discharge ink onto your print. Now, as you use ink, that bag becomes more and more collapsed. When it's empty, and you can let these go to empty, unlike the CLI-42s that you have to refill when they reach low, because you don't want to change the saturation level of that sponge. That is the most critical point about this. And that is why I'm using my Pro-1000 for 5 years now without a single problem. Not one problem with my cartridges. And I'm using 2 sets of cartridges. That's all I've been using for the last 5 years, exchanging full sets as I need to. Anyway, Pro 10, you can do it both ways if you wish. One cartridge at a time, or if you can acquire a second set of empties, then you can go ahead and prepare double sets of cartridges and apply the same method. The reason you can get away with that is because these chips are resettable. Okay, you can reset them all to full. You can top them all off, even the ones that were not empty yet, because when you remove a full set, because one was empty, the other was still going to have ink in them. So you just simply top them off. And the way you do that, 2 methods. If you're starting with a dried up cart from eBay, you're going to want to create a little adapter. This is the clip that comes with the cartridge. I have drilled a hole through it so that I can insert and glue with cyanoacrylate and activator to create a really strong bond. A little 1/8 inch long stubby needle. How do you get a little 1/8 inch long stubby needle? You use a Dremel cutter and a little cutting wheel and cut it at that length. Insert it, glue it. Make sure you don't get glue in the opening, only glue the back. And you end up with this. This can be inserted into a plain tip syringe, or a lure lock syringe, and you're going to then brand new cartridge, empty cartridge that has been sitting around, that bag is not going to be collapsed. It has expanded a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to snap this on with ink in it. Say you have a 30 ml syringe. This holds about 16 and a half milliliters of ink. So you're going to have that loaded. You're going to then pull back and collapse that bag. Collapse it by sucking out all of the air. And then you're going to inject the ink in it. Make sure you don't inject air. Just inject the amount of ink. Remove the clip and weigh it. Make sure that it weighs around 32.5 to 33 grams. If you squeeze it, you will see ink puddling at the top. Another method that you can use if you don't want to use this, and this is only really necessary when you use a dried up cartridge that you buy from eBay as an empty. And that might be the only way you can collect a full set of cartridges for this printer. You may have to go that route. Now, once you get these cartridges refilled the first time, then the next time that you have to refill them is a piece of cake. It really is not a chore at all. I have a little bit of Chrome Optimizer here. You're going to basically drip it directly into the sponge. Once you have reset the chip to full, simple metal, just drip, drip, drip. You can just sit this on top of a scale and then monitor it until it reaches 32, 33 grams. And then you'll see the sponge becoming saturated with ink. You don't want to go beyond that point because that's too much ink. And so once you reach that point, you simply clip it, store it until you need it. Again, if you have a full set already in the printer, you're just going to wait until one of those cartridges reaches empty. Remove all 10 of them, replace them with your refilled reset set of 10 cartridges, and then at your leisure, reset the ones that you took out, top them all back up to 33 grams full weight. Put the clips back on them. I like to store them facing up like this. Some people like to store them this way. It doesn't really matter much, as long as you got the clip on there to keep everything nice and wet inside and no drying. Pro-1 cartridges, PGI 29s. Internal ink bag as well. This holds about 39 grams of ink. Quite a lot of ink. So you're going to get yourself a 60 milliliter syringe and load it with that amount of ink. And that would be, say, 40 milliliters of ink. So what you want to do is this. You're going to get yourself a special filling tip. Precisioncolors has them. You're going to load it onto your syringe that has ink already in it. You're going to insert it. You're going to pull back to collapse that bag again. If there's any ink left in there, it's going to be pulled out. Okay, and you will end up with more than the 40 milliliters that you loaded. So you got to keep that kind of, well monitored. You end up with, say, 45 milliliters of ink in your syringe. You're just going to then, once you collapse that bag, that means you removed all the air. You're going to go ahead and inject the ink and keep your eyes until you reach that point where you have injected 40 milliliters of ink. Weigh it. It should weigh 84 grams at that point, because empty is about 44 grams. Sometimes you could get it down to about 43 point something grams. So you add 40 ml of ink, that brings you back up to 84 grams. So make sure that you get it around 83, 84 grams. The chip has to be exchanged with a brand new single-use chip. The other two types, you can reset the chips. Not so with these. You have to use one card at a time with this. So when this one is empty, basically the chip is declared empty. You remove the chip. I have already pre-modified these cartridges that I sell. But yours will not be pre-modified to accept the fatter Chinese chip. There's a slightly different configuration to the back of the chip. So it needs a little bit of space carved out of that compartment. You got to do that rather carefully. I have a setup with a milling machine that does everything pretty much automatically. So you will have to carve your own chip compartment out with a Dremel tool with a rotary cutter, and just make sure that you can finally fit that chip in place nice and flat. When I sell you the cartridges, they have been properly modified. The chip has been properly removed to allow you to then insert yours. It's sort of a angular and then slip in place procedure. I have plenty of videos to show you exactly how to do that. And so from now on, you will just simply be refilling this cartridge with 40 ml of ink, get it to weigh 84 grams, and replace that chip yourself. If you somehow damage that secondary post, it can happen easily. Very fragile. You're going to have to use something sticky to hold the chip in place. The two posts will still be there. You just simply put something sticky. Even chewing gum will work. But I use a sticky rubber material that is used in museums to hold little objects down. I forget what it's called. Blue tack, I believe. And so you put a little dab of that in there, and that'll hold the chip in place for you until the next time you have to replace it. And it holds it down quite nicely. And so that is it. Just make sure with the Pro-100, this is the only crucial thing you need to practice every single time. Don't go beyond low. Do not. If you don't do that, you're going to end up with air in your sponge. You're going to reduce ink flow, and that's going to jeopardize the life of your printhead. With the Pro-10, easy. Let them go empty, reset them, refill them to 33 grams. Make sure that there's no air in it, and then pop them back into the printer. Either whole sets or individual cartridges if that's the best that you can do. Pro-1, individual cartridges because we cannot reset these chips. You're going to extract any remnant ink. You're going to then load 40 ml, or in the same syringe, you just need to keep visual track of what you're injecting. Inject until they reach 84 grams of weight. Make sure you put a new chip. You're good to go. Simple as that. The Pro-1, Pro-1000, and all of the EPSON printers that have non-moving carts, they're stationary carts. They use ink lines, and so they do not develop ink purges after each cart exchange, like the Pro-10 and the Pro-100 does. Those printers have cartridges that ride on top of the printhead, and they run individual purge cycles using inks from all 8 or all 10 cartridges, even if you just switch one cart. So you want to avoid that. Instead of having that occur 8 times or 10 times within a month or 2 months, why not reduce that to just once every month or 2 months, depending on your printing frequency? That's the secret behind exchanging complete sets of cartridges. Pro-100, when one reaches low. Pro-10, when one reaches empty. Or near empty. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you want to do. It's up to you. Since they can be reset, it doesn't really matter whether you do it when it's empty or you do it when it's almost low but not quite low. You're going to refill with the same ink anyway. You're not going to be wasting any ink. You're going to be able to reset the chips. Piece of cake. Best scenario ever. Okay? So make sure you practice that. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems with the Pro-100. With the Pro-10, make sure that you fill them and don't have air in there. Okay? The way you do that again is to squeeze the cart. You will see bubbles coming out of the sponge. You want to reach a point where the sponge is almost saturated with ink. Almost. You would have to squeeze a tiny bit and you see it kind of begin to flood. And when you let go, it retracts back into the bag. That's the perfect point for a PGI 72 cart. Alrighty, that is it. I'm going to be doing the next video for Sunday afternoon. And then hopefully Monday sometime I will upload the third video. Remember the titles that we discussed? A little bit of a reminder. Canon Pro-100 10 and 1 refilling was the one we just did. Understanding the Canon printer cleaning cycles. Oh boy, I'm going to have to create a chart for this. And I hope you guys finally get this and then erase all the misconceptions that you will hear and being passed on the internet and other forums and whatever in video channels as the gospel truth. The gospel truth about this will be heard here finally. So I will let you guys know about all of this maybe Sunday. Get the most bang for the buck on Canon printers. I will teach you how to do that. Ink is expensive, folks. Even third-party ink should not be wasted. So I will teach you how to get more ink on paper than on the cleaning pads or the maintenance cartridges on printers such as the Pro-1000. All right, that is it. Thank you so much. We'll see you Saturday evening, hopefully. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Happy printing, everybody. Happy refilling. Do it right, or don't do it at all. Bye-bye, everyone.